Hello, welcome to OMES Son. So, a review of the weekend football uh, in the English Premier League, week 4. Some decent games out there, I'm sure. Depends on which team you're supporting, if they won or lost. So, I looked at the Manchester derby on Sunday, and I saw a convincing win by Man City. Haaland looked great. But especially the keeper, Donnarumma, looked great coming into the Premier League first time. We know he's a world class keeper, right? You don't have to. There's no argument about that. Debatable whether he's the best or one of the best in the world right now, of course. What it will be like for in the future, who knows? But in terms of making an appearance, what better appearance could you do? Could you be as, or could you have as a keeper, right? Shot stopping, great saves, commanding his area, coming out, catching, punching the ball, demanding respect, commanding the, directing his defence, all that kind of stuff. And they reacted to it and they loved it, right? And that gives them confidence to, be solid at the back as well. That's what any team needs. So if you look at something like West Ham as well, we know we've got a massive problem with our keeper. He's not coming out for crosses. He's not commanding the area. He's weak at the back. He's getting bullied. I mean, I've talked, in the past about him not coming out and, say, catching the ball and all that sort of stuff and fluffing his lines. But he's also getting bullied in there. He's getting pushed off the ball. Our defenders allowing the attackers to get too close to him, and he's not pushing them away. He hasn't got the strength. He's not big enough. He's not big enough and strong enough and confident enough to do that. To clear the danger area, or that he's got a clear path out of there to clear the danger. It's a bad choice by Potter. It's a bad choice by Potter just to keep on sticking with a player that is underperforming and is not performing, and it's not even underperforming and not performing. It's actually a player that is causing us to concede goals. Now, you could argue the same thing about why is he picking James Ward-Prowse? Why is he picking Souček? Why is he putting players in the wrong positions or weaker positions than they, where their strength is in another position, like Paqueta, right? Just because he scored a goal once in a false nine before doesn't mean that's his best position. I could play right back and score a goal. Doesn't mean that's my best position, right? Well, actually, it was my best position, but that's by the by. But it's lunacy to think that what Potter is doing is the right thing, and he's the right man for the job. And his selection so far this season, and actually last season, is wrong. And for him to come out excuses to say, well, what we inherited and all this kind of stuff is lunacy. And anybody who buys into that, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, as the Americans would say. It's nonsensical. He's had the whole summer to try and get a team functioning properly, and you come out and you're not even starting with strikers, and you've got injury-prone strikers. This is down to you as well as the board. It's a joint effort here. But you wanted to go out and buy a keeper when we didn't need a keeper. Areola was there. Fabianski we could have retained. Now we've got egg on our face as well, because Fabianski went. Then we've got him back. Fodringham's gone off to... God knows who he's gone over to. Limassol? Who is it? Wherever he's gone off to. And is he going to get decent football over there? No, he just wants to get a game, bless him. But he's never going to work at West Ham. So Fabianski's come back. You got Areola's completely out of favour. I wouldn't be surprised if Areola's just like, no, sod you. I don't want to play for you the way you treated me. Anybody is better than Hermansen right now. But that's Potter's guy, right? So if we can see there's all these issues with Potter, his selection, his steadfast loyalty to certain players, and you kind of think, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Picking these players, having these tactics, having these formations, and the style of play that we've got. And then you've got players in there who have no fight, and they don't go out with an attitude of fight. This is a mental thing. This is a mentality thing. But where is this coming from? Every player wants to win. Every player wants to do the best they can. But it's a malaise, right? It's like a mind virus. You get in there and things start to work you down. And you need people within the dressing room. You need people within the coaching staff to pull you back up. To reinforce that. To, fluff you up a little bit and say, look, come on, look. You need to do this. You need to act in a certain way. When things get tough, you need to, get going. And we don't have that, or it's apparent that we don't have that. Now, whether it's actually happening in behind the scenes and the players are just not reacting to it, but there's nothing on the touchline either. Potter, we see there, he just looks lost. He doesn't get everybody energized. You look at other managers and they're jumping up and down. They're getting going. Look at Pep, the way he talks to his players. He's always directing them. The simplest of ball, he's just like, yeah, pass it to him. Yeah, him. Yeah, okay, what's the matter with you? Come on, him. He's directing. He's coaching. And they probably don't like this micromanagement, but that's what it takes. To in-game management, to keep your players at 100% focus, to say you need to do this, you need to do that, quick, chop, get the ball up. Move this side, move that, push, pull, whatever it is. But there's nothing coming from the touchline. There's nothing coming from the technical area that you kind of think, well, oh no, he's a thinking man's manager. He's tactically, he's aware. He does this, he does that. He gives a great TED talk on football coaching and management and styles and tactics. Yeah, but it's not working at West Ham, and it's not working for in-game management, and it's not working at directing players that need to be lifted up. Every team, every player needs to be lifted up, regardless of how successful they are. You need a strong manager in there that does that. And all of his decisions, whether in-game management, whether pre-game management, pre-game selection tactics, are wrong. They are not working. So what does that mean? Well, Potter's got to go. I said this right at the start of the season. People, I'm sure, would be totally disagreeing. They say, "Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, we're only 4 games in now. No, we're only 4 games in. Oh, look, well, we beat Forest last week. Oh, this is Spurs. This is Chelsea." I'm not even looking at the results. I'm looking at the type of performance that we deliver, and I'm looking at the way it's being delivered and how it's being guided by Potter. And I was saying right at the very start of the season, this has got worse from last. It's no change. It's got even worse. And you've had the whole summer to try and rectify it and get something going, and you just haven't done it. So this is a management issue. This is a player issue, but this is a management issue. This is madness, absolute madness. If we continue with this, it's absolute madness if the board continue with this, regardless of where your position is on the board, where your position is on petitions. I say go and sign it. It's all bad PR. It affects change. It helps to try and bring the discussion into public consciousness, the wider media consciousness. It's bad. It's a bad look for the club. Whatever your feelings are on whether the board, they should stay, they should go, something's got to change at the top. We as a club, I mean, it's hardly recognisable anymore in terms of the way we are, in terms of a fan base going to games, what we enjoy about games, going to the stadium, the atmosphere. We can have good atmospheres, and it is definitely a case. There is definitely a point of view that if we are winning and showing it on in the games, that the atmosphere will be a lot better. We would be 100% behind you as a club, as the team especially. But I think the ship has set sail. It's left the port in terms of Brady and Sullivan. I don't think there's anything they can do, even for me, right, who's a kind of mild-mannered janitor, really. I'll do the older, okay, you can win me over just one more time, but even for me, that ship sailed a long time ago. There's nothing that they could do that would convince me that they should stay, but there's so much that they could do to help the here and now. Even now, in terms of, transfers, there's nothing they could do, but there's definitely stuff they could do in terms of restructuring the club, in terms of handing it over the day-to-day running to a CEO who knows what the fuck they're talking about, director of football, changing the manager, doing lots of things, and actually giving clear instructions to the manager and saying, no, we want this kind of football here. To address the fans and say, yes, I know we're on the back foot here in terms of our relationship with you, but this is what we want. This is what we're going to try and prove to you what we're going to do. And I'm going to give you weekly updates face to face with the fans. Yeah, I know I expect to be insulted. I know I expected to be booed out. I know I expected all the negative stuff. But at least you leave this club and you go out with a bit of decency. With a bit of that, you've reclaimed just a little bit of decency amongst the fan base. But the way the team just gave up on Saturday, it was disgraceful. I made a previous video about being a diabolically disgraceful display. And it was, and it's just, it is. This is not professionalism. This is not what you expect. You expect a fight. You expect something. And for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes of the game, maybe even more than that, there was nothing there. Nothing there. So you got to look at yourselves as individuals. You've got to look at yourselves and think, well, hold on, what are we doing? What are we doing to change things here? What are we doing as a group of players, as a collective? And then you listen to Potter just talking about, his post-match interview. Oh wow, we made a couple of mistakes here, and everything was great before, and mistakes and transitions, and fine margins and all that kind of stuff. And it really gripes you because you think, what are you on about? You're not seeing it. You're blind. And I've talked about this before in terms of, I think he has a blindness to what is actually happening. Look, I went on another channel on Saturday after the game. I was hopping mad, of course. But I was saying, I want all our managers to do well. Of course I do. You would be insane not to want your manager to do well. Because if your manager does well, then your team is doing well. Then you're getting results, you're getting performances. And hopefully you're entertaining the crowd at the same time, right? But the bare minimum, you're getting more positive results than not. At the bare minimum, you're getting good, committed performances on a consistent basis. In fact, that's the minimum that you should be expecting. Good, consistent performances, regardless of what the results are. We're not getting any of that. We haven't got that for a long, long time. Even before Potter, right? We haven't got that for a long, long time. So you kind of wonder what are we doing? What are we doing as a fan base? Are we a fan base that's supporting, or are we a fan base that are just there just to watch and see what happens? Because we're not being given anything. Potter is not giving us anything. And you want to be supportive of a manager, but you can't be supportive of anybody who's just failing. If I look at a business, I run a business, and people are working for me, they're failing, or somebody I'm working with alongside, they're failing on a regular basis, then you kind of think you're not fit for the job. Regardless of my personal feelings towards you, regardless of, you're a great bloke for a beer after work, but in work, whether I'm managing you, whether I'm the owner, whether you're working alongside me as a colleague, if you're not doing your job and you're not doing it properly with good success, then guess what? You're not right for that job. If I'm an employee, a worker, and I've got a supervisor or a manager above me who is a complete no-hoper, is just making bad decisions that affect us all on a daily basis or a weekly basis, guess what? You're not a good manager. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So whichever way you look at it, from top, looking down, from the bottom, looking up, from the sides, looking in, whichever direction, 360 degrees, it's not working out for Potter. So who comes in? I hear you ask. Oh, it's all well and good slating off the manager, slating off the players, slating off the board. I get it, right? Yeah, it's very easy to be negative. It's very easy for me to sit here and start throwing darts at lots of different people. I get it. Of course it is. And it's always been like that. And it's very easy just to start having a go at people. But I come with facts and I come with receipts, as it were, as they like to say, as the kids like to say, right? You know, I come with something substantial to say, and where you can clearly see where things are breaking down and the issues that surround this club. So let's address the one big issue. Who do you get in his place? There is a great argument here that regardless of who comes in, we're always going to have the same issues, because you've got the ownership model, Sullivan, and Vice Chair Brady there, and all the rest of the board. And there's infights in the board as well, because Krasinski doesn't like it as well. So we might, who knows, we might see some movement in there as well in the future. We might see Brady step down. Who knows? I can't see it myself, but But there could be changes. There could be changes there. And that might bring better times. We don't know. But it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating as a fan, as a West Ham fan, to see the lack of organisation, the lack of spirit, the lack of desire, the lack of forethought in any area of the club. And you kind of wonder, what is this? What is this we're watching? What is this? What is this that we're seeing? And Saturday, I was there, and I was screaming bloody murder. Figuratively speaking, of course. Right to the final whistle. And I was just like, what are you doing? What are we seeing? I say this repeatedly, time and time again. I say this repeatedly. We've never been a club that have had great times. We've never had a club on a consistent basis. We never had fantastic football on a great time. But at least we had spirit. We tried to deliver something. So the question is, okay, who do you get in instead of Potter? I'm not going to give you a name, but I'm going to give you a type. I'm going to give you a type of the person that we need, whether they're successful or not. The type of person who stands up to authority, the type of person who is single-minded, the type of person who is not afraid to break many eggs to make a decent omelette, the type of person who may burn brightly but burn quickly. It might be the kind of person that we need. Now, I think you know where I'm going with this, but there's only a few managers out there that I believe not necessarily would bring us success, but will change the atmosphere around the club. We'll kind of look at it. Now, I don't believe that the club are ambitious enough. I don't believe they're brave enough. And I don't believe they are humble enough to appoint a manager like that. It's very hard for an individual, any individual, right, you included and me included, it's very hard for any of us to look within yourself and admit where you're going wrong and think objectively about yourself and think, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How could I improve? Does anybody have better ideas? Should I really be doing... it's very hard. Because fundamentally, you're always going to put yourself at the center of the universe, right? You're always going to think, yeah, I should be doing this, I'm doing that, yeah, what my ideas. Because, managers always come in and say, yeah, I've got these new ideas, my ideas, this is the way it is. Ange has just gone into Forest, right? Yeah, I've got my ideas, mate. Yeah, I always win in the second year, always win a trophy in the second year. This is what we do, yeah. All the memes come out, right? But he's got a clear identity of what he wants. Win, lose or draw, that's his identity. Other managers, Pep, that's his identity. That's where he wants to play. Other managers, Klopp in the past, Fergie in the past, they have a clear identity, clear purpose. That's the way they want to go. We don't have that with Potter. We don't, regardless of whether he's ably supported or not by the board. In the here and now, because what's past is past. What's done is done with previous managers. But the here and now, what Potter delivers, he doesn't deliver that. He doesn't deliver that confidence, that awe-inspiring confidence, that one that says, blimey, yeah, sorry, boss, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, it's a good idea. Sorry, boss, yeah. He doesn't inject any fear. He doesn't inject any kind of positive reinforcement. Whatever sort of metric you want to try and engage him on, he doesn't deliver it. So you need a manager, a type of manager who delivers that. I'm not saying that they're going to give us great football, but it will change the dynamic. It will kind of bring an energy back to the team. It will bring an energy back to the fan base. All the other problems still exist. The stadium, the ownership, the behind the scenes, the way they interact with the fan base, all that still exists, right? Until there's change at the club, until there's change at the ownership. But in terms of the here and now, in terms of the manager, in terms of the way he's selecting players, the way he's persistent with players that fail, James Ward-Prowse, Souček, obviously suspended now, Hermansen. The reluctance to put on a striker, where you could have had him on for 50, 60 minutes, regardless of whether another player is going to last 50 or 60 minutes, 70 minutes. The excuses, the rationale that he's using to justify certain decisions post-match is just ridiculous. It makes no sense. So you need a manager who can be so confident in their own abilities and so confident and say, this is what we're going to do. I want a manager to come out to the fan base and say, listen, you lot, I want to deliver a kind of football that you're going to respect and you're going to like and you're going to want to see more of. But this is going to be a short period thing, right? In the next few months, we need to build. We need to bring a solid, defensive lineup. We need to be solid all over the park. We need fighters. I want to bring the fight back to you, West Ham fans. Guess what? I'm going, yes, please. Give me a bit of that. Yes, please. I accept that we're not going to get fantastic football straight away. I accept that we're not. But I tell you what, fundamentally, we get the fight back straight away. I'll be cheering that on. I'll be definitely cheering that on. And West Ham fans, I'll tell you what we're going to do. When I come in, I'm going to put in players that fit, where they might not be the best players on the park, but they fit. And we're going to have a cohesive team. And we're going to reinforce that with good, timely substitutions. And we're going to keep on with this consistency of good, honest football and performances that fight to the bitter end, that do not give up. And our players will understand that, will know that. And woe be told them any of those players who don't live up to that, because they'll be dropped. Fans, you will know what I, the manager, want and what I expect. And you will see this from game to game. And I will deliver on a promise. Regardless of what goes on up top, regardless of what goes on behind the scenes, week in, week out, you will see us try more than we've ever tried before. And the in-game tactics will come on and we will develop them. That's what I want to see. I want to see a rousing speech from my manager. I want somebody who takes control of a press conference, who takes control of the club And he's basically saying to the management, to the owners, which is management of the club, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, we've got to do this. If you employ me, this is what I expect from you, because I am holding you account as owners of this club. If you want to, have me in charge here, this is what I expect from you. If they're brave enough, they'll employ this guy, this type of person. I just don't think they're brave enough. I just don't think they're ambitious enough. And that's, we're back to square one. This is part of the problem. David Sullivan, if you're listening to me, you're not. I know you're not. But anybody, associated with you, if you're listening, Karen Brady, if you're listening, anybody associated with you, if you're listening, anybody at the club, if you're listening, this is what we want. And yes, of course, I'm obviously speaking for every single West Ham fan. Of course I am. Of course I'm not, right? I'm being flippant. But fundamentally, this is what we want for you to effect change in the management, the coaching, and ensure that there's clear direction, that the players on the pitch deliver a performance, one that tries to win, that fights for every ball, that fights to the last minute, that doesn't give up, that doesn't capitulate, and that tries to go after teams and try and deliver performances. And I'll tell you what, we meet halfway on that one. And I'll tell you what, if we have a manager that delivers that, can stand up to you and stand up for his rights and stand up for the right to deliver that kind of football, and for a manager who wants to deliver that for the fans and who speaks to the fans directly, that's what you want. That's what we want. And right now, we're not getting it. We haven't had that for so long. So that's a failing on your part. That's a failing on your part in putting systems in place and people in positions of power that just don't deliver what we want. The club is of the fans. Never forget this. The club is of the fans. So many fans have gone from West Ham, going to games and everything. So many fans have gone. They're not here anymore. They don't go to games. There's still lots of fans who do go, of course. And I still say this, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you're doing, because you will relegate us. If you don't act, and if you don't act now, you will relegate us. And making a bad decision now, regardless of keeping Potter, or not making him change immediately, or getting a manager that is just as bad or even worse, that's down on you. You need to make sure that what you're doing with this club is that it's changing the direction of it immediately. And that's a mental thing. This is a policy thing. This is a direction thing. This is getting people who understand what fans want and what your responsibility is to deliver this for the fans. The fans have always been there. They'll be there before you even got there, and they'll be there afterwards. They're the ones who live and breathe this stuff. So for some people, the club, West Ham, or whatever club that you support, right, if you're watching this objectively, right, so for some people, that's every waking moment. That's what they think about. That's what they love. That's what holds them together. That's what holds families together. That's what, brings communities together. This is away from the pitch. This is the community as a whole. When you rip a club out of its natural home and you deliver that for the last nearly 10 years, then there's a big problem. You've failed on so many different levels. You failed from a human aspect. You've failed at an individual aspect, at a community aspect, at a business aspect. You failed your fan base. You failed your supporters. And guess what? They're turning away. And it could be that what is the worst thing for you in terms of getting relegated might be one of the best things for the fans in a weird and wonderful kind of way. That, those old school fans might start coming back. The community might come back. And because we got relegated and we're losing things and everything's getting worse, then it might force you to go as well, or force you to get somebody else in charge and another CEO. The protests are going to go on this weekend, right? Again, ahead of the Crystal Palace game. I don't have the details on that. I don't know where the protest is going to be held. I don't know at what time it is. I'm sure we'll find out the next few days and all that kind of stuff. Sign the petition, if you will, from those, I think first organised by those good people at Claret and Booze. And other channels have picked up on it. Support Hammers United and the protests. What fundamentally it can't be any kind of violence, any kind of idiocy there at all. It's got to be structured. It's got to be well thought out. Because as soon as there is any kind of idiocy, then all of a sudden you lose the war. You're losing the battle, and then you lose the war. You've got to be responsible heads there. But they've got to make their feelings known. We've got to make our feelings known that this has to stop. This has to change. I'm in two minds whether I'm even just going to boycott the game on Saturday, regardless of whether I'm at the protest or not. I know it's not the boycott game. I know the Brentford game is, but I feel that strongly about it. I don't know. I probably won't. I'll probably still go to the game. I'll probably protest as well. But the way I felt over the weekend, the way people say, well, you can't let this ruin your weekend. I never feel like this. I never feel like this. But I think it's so, when you can see an overall system that is so wrong, so broken, and then you got to kind of question what the hell is going on. But it starts at the back, and it goes through the defence, and it goes into midfield, and it goes up front. Where is the fight here? Where is that consistent pressure to want to scrap and claw away to the very last second? When you've got players on there who are just not working out, that are feeble, that are weak, that are just not doing it, you need to get rid of them. You need to change it up. And if you've got a manager in there who's not doing this, who's just making the wrong decisions, you need to come out with a shepherd's crook and just go, oi, out you go. You need to go. And the ownership needs to take responsibility of this mess. Finally, they need to look within themselves, just as the manager does, just as the players do, just as this is a very hard thing to do. Because the owners will look at the results and say, well, if we're winning, then nobody will be protesting. You're blind again. You're blind to what's really happened at this club. Yes, there will be good times around the club. Because, if let's say we were winning every game or every other game and we were, finishing in the European places or finishing in the top four and we were making Europe on a consistent basis and we were challenging and you'd actually made us into a world-class team in a world-class stadium, right? Then all of a sudden people say, well, no, actually, you delivered. You did deliver. You have achieved that. But you haven't achieved that at all, anywhere near it. So all of a sudden now, yes, one couple of seasons, we did all right. Most of those behind closed doors, COVID years. 2-3 runs in the Europa League and Conference League, which we won. We were terrible. We had no fans. We did well. Then we're terrible again in the league. So we've kind of had a little peak, and then we've come down, and then our decline is even worse. This all comes down under your stewardship. This comes down under your control. And you're blind to think that just performances alone, just results alone would stop all this. And it doesn't. It doesn't stop it at all. Because you can't just expect people to ignore history. You can't expect people to think about what you've ripped away from the club, what you've ripped away from the fan base, and you've not replaced it with anything that is good on a consistent basis, failed to deliver. And how you've affected people and how you've affected communities and families and businesses and so on and so forth. As a West Ham fan, I'm always hopeful. I'm always hopeful that I go to a game and we're going to deliver on something, be entertained, whatever. I'm always hopeful that we'll have that. But I'm also dreading. I also dread every game now more so than ever. I dread every game You know, if you'd asked me, you know, a year, 2 years ago, even those days, I'd be like, you know, how are we going to do? Oh, we're going to smash them 5-0. Totally deluded. But I'd always say it because I think, yeah, why not? Why not? Why not be positive? Now, who knows? It's West Ham, isn't it? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what we're going to do? You know, whether we win, lose, or draw. If we win, it's a real surprise for me. If we put on any kind of performance, it's a real surprise. That's what it's come down to. We are so bad, so shocking. And the whole running of the club, the management of the team, the run of the club is just shocking. Support the fans, support the fan base, support what it means to be a West Ham fan. Sign the petition for me. Attend the protests, a peaceful protest. Do the boycott. Don't give up your ticket to the club, you know, on the ticket exchange so they can sell it for £1 for kids to go. I sound like somebody who is totally anti the club in terms of West Ham as a fan, as a supporter, but I'm not. I'm anti the way it's been run and what they're going to try and do to undermine us as a fan base and to deliver the same old dross and not, you know, put a band-aid on something and not have it permanently fixed. That's what they're looking for now. They're looking for band-aids. They're looking for plasters just to stick over the little, which they think is a graze, which they think is a little paper cut. Oh yeah, it's not that bad. We'll be all right. But actually they don't see the deep cut, the deep laceration in the West Ham fan base. That needs serious attention. You know, a couple of plaster and a couple of butterfly stitches is not going to do it. That needs traumatic intervention. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But all I can say is, up the hammers. Catch you again. Bye now.